Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Recruitment Uncensored with me. You all know who I am by now. It's Kate. I've got two guests. This is the first time, actually, I've ever had more than one guest on the show. So you may recognise Phil from before. I actually can't remember when you were last on with me, Phil. Was it this year?
I think it was at the start of this year, if I'm right.
Yeah, February, maybe like January or February.
Yeah.
But we've also got Shona today as well. So Shona and Phil are from Perform 24. They're both my coaches as well. And I feel really sorry for them at the moment because they're in Portugal. So
It's
they've got
tough
the
life.
good weather.
It's tough.
Tough life. Very tough life. Very tough life. Um, and you all may be a bit shocked at the moment because you're used to seeing me look like a mess with my hair that's sweaty and up in a ponytail. Well, I'm going to a wedding later. So I've actually had my hair done for once. And we are pre-recording this just as a heads up as well. As I've done with every pre-recorded show, I won't be editing this. So everything you see is live as best as it can be. It's just I'm doing a TRN rumble on the date that this will go live. So it's pre-recorded. So any comments you put in, still put them in, still put your questions in, but I can't cover them off. We can't cover them off live. I will get them answered for you later in the day when I look at them as well. Right. So this is a really timely subject for me personally. But I know for a lot of you business owners in the recruitment world, because that's mainly my audience, we have had a shitter of a year. It's been really difficult. And I know from speaking to a lot of you, burnout is rife. A lot of us are exhausted and, just the ups and downs have taken its toll. So this, I feel, is a really important subject for a lot of us at the moment to kind of nip in the bud. So I'm going to get stuck in with the first question. So for you both, I don't know whether Phil, you were going to cover this one off. I can't remember now, but what do you see as being the role of kind of physical fitness and energy management in preventing burnout?
Yeah, it's absolutely massive in preventing burnout. Now, we, and everyone listening will know that it's all too easy to get caught up in the long hours, the back-to-back meetings, the long days, high stress, constant problem solving. And if we're not looking after our physical health, our energy, our bodies, eventually you're going to become the weak link. Burnout is going to creep in, and essentially you're going to potentially get ill and your business is going to suffer. Now, on the other hand, if you prioritize your physical health and make time for that, it's been proven exercise, training, moving your body, looking after your nutrition, prioritizing your sleep. If you can stay on top of that, this is going to allow you to have more energy. It's going to allow you to think with more clarity. It's going to improve your health. It's going to reduce your risk of ill health. And the knock-on effect of that is then that you're going to be in a better position to push your business to another level and stay in the game for the long term, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about how long can we stay in this game to grow and go where we want to go with our business and our careers. So yeah, it's massive. If you're not prioritizing your physical fitness and taking care of your energy, then yeah, essentially you're going to suffer at some point.
Yeah, and I think I've had that firsthand recently. So yeah, because just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, thinking I needed to, I can't have any downtime or, I haven't got time for that. I've ended up losing a good 3-4 weeks of maximum productivity with both my businesses, and my training, as in the gym training, has suffered as well because I've just been ill. Now, partly that was self-inflicted. I have been on to Ibiza, so I did really burn the candles at both ends. But that was happening before I went on holiday. It was going on for months, and it was a massive wake-up call for me because my health, I'm still not 100% now. I'm still getting my voice back. My chest isn't 100%. And it's just, I can't be at my best. My business is not at its best when I'm not at my best. And you both know that. You've got a business. Loads of people watching know that as well. But we always put ourselves second best, don't we? Or well, I do anyways. It's just a bad habit.
That's it. We place all this pressure on ourselves for our business, for our careers. We need to make X amount of money, we need to pay the bills, and we think that in order to do that, it's a case of just work, push. But if we then neglect the most important thing, which is us and our energy and our health, you're not going to have the ability to push as hard as you want or deliver the quality that you want consistently for the long term in your work. And yeah, you've felt the effects of that recently yourself, haven't you? You've got a lot of pressure going on. You've been pushing hard. There's 2 businesses now, and that has brought a lot of pressure for you, time constraints, and maybe perhaps a little bit of neglect on the physical side. And now we've had the conversation, haven't we? We actually need to make sure that no matter how busy we are, we have to, even if our time is limited, find that time, because that is going to put you at your best to stay in the game.
Yeah. And I think the key word in that question is prevention, like the preventing the burnout. Yeah, okay, like obviously deal with it when you feel burnt out, but actually it's more about preventing it in the first place. Because once you're in it and you are really burnt out, it's not like overnight, oh, I'll click my fingers and I feel better now. It's like a gradual process to come out of it. And that takes time away from your business as well.
That's it. It's a creep build up, and then when you hit it, it takes a while then to bring you back, your baseline back down. So like you said, it's just being proactive, in fact, and prioritizing. No matter what, you've got to make sure that we're looking after our health, got to make sure that we're moving our body, we're getting some exercise in. We're then also looking at our nutrition, flooding ourselves with good quality food regularly. We're also getting enough sleep, and then, which is often neglected, making sure that we've got activities or methods, strategies to manage the stress in our business as well. So could be meditation, walks, whatever that may be. These are the principles we have to keep in our day-to-day, our week-to-week, our year-to-year, if we want to stay on top.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I'm going to move to question 2, because obviously we know from that it plays a massive. I think some business owners in recruitment, they know it plays a big role, but it's like actually doing anything about it. So I think this next question is really important, which is, and these are things that people can walk away with from watching the show today. Like, what do you see as being some really good practical habits that people can incorporate to improve their performance as a business owner?
I honestly think it's really difficult to even talk about it and even notice that it's happening to you, because I've been in business and I'm like, nah, I'm fine until I'm not. And then actually admitting that maybe the way I'm leading my life doesn't actually suit me or my goals, and I'm not truly living in alignment with it. It's kind of hard to admit. So I'm obviously not saying that you need to do it, but I think sometimes just being a little bit open to a new perspective can help. So I think the first thing, which some people forget and some people might think it's obvious, but it's sleep. None of us sleep enough. We don't put our phones down at a decent time. We don't actually live in alignment with what we say. We'll say, oh, we'll go do this and we'll go for a walk. We'll do this tonight. We'll have some downtime. But that boundary, it's only you that's keeping you to that. And more often than not, you'll let it slip. You're not going to bed till 1 o'clock in the morning answering messages with clients and stuff. So I think the first thing that I would do personally is prioritize my sleep. And that doesn't mean that you need to be sleeping 8 hours if you're currently sleeping only 4 or 5. It could just be an extra 10 minutes to begin with. Get rid of all that all or nothing mindset.
Small steps.
How can I do a little bit more today to make my life easier tomorrow? And it could just be something small, like putting your phone down 5 minutes earlier. It could just be something as small as that. And then as you start to implement, you can gradually keep going and keep growing that gap. And then once you feel a little bit better, because we all know that if we sleep better, we're going to be a better person during the day, then I think you can start thinking about lifestyle and habits. So things like drinking more water and a little bit less caffeine, because we all do it. We all know that we're self-inflicted addicted.
Yeah, a lot of recruiters love their coffee.
So just it doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to be a big change. Again, it can be small, replacing 1 cup of coffee with 1 glass of water to start with. And then make a little game with yourself. We're all so driven. If you have a business, which most of you do, or you're really driven in your career, you love the chase, you like the journey. So make it a little bit more fun for yourself. How many times can I keep swapping these things? And then you're going to see the benefit, and that will allow you to build up and keep the momentum as well. Because if you see the benefit, you're way less likely to go backwards. Then when it comes, like Phil said, when it comes to nutrition, it's so important to give yourself nutrient dense foods, but I know that can be hard. And I think a lot of people have this perspective of making food is difficult. I don't have time for this. And I'm not saying like microwave meals are the answer, but if you are eating absolute junk all of the time, then it could be an idea that you just get micro meals like 1 or 2 times a week for dinner. If you have been working all day, the last thing you're going to want to do is cook, or even go shopping and then cook. Because I know some people shop day to day, they don't do a weekly shop. So like meeting yourself where you're at right now and then starting to implement things that will make your life a little bit easier, that is the way to keep going forward. Like, it's going to be unrealistic for me to just say like you need to do a weekly food shop, you need to be cooking dinner every night if you don't do any of it. So meet yourself where you're at right now, and then you will immediately see the difference in your energy and you'll want to continue to get better. And then when it comes to nutrition as well, like actually keeping up with meal times, I think it's so easy to go from meeting to meeting to meeting and forget that you need to eat. So having your own
a lot of people do that.
And then you're going to have a midday slump or a mid-afternoon slump because you can't continuously go that way. It's not fair on your body. And if you expect your body to keep showing up all of the time, it will fail you. And that's where most people go wrong. Like me personally, I can't go a couple of hours without food. I really do see the difference in my energy. Whereas some, like Phil, for example, he can go way longer without food and he'll be absolutely fine. So again, it's about listening to your body, listening to what you need, and making sure that you're putting yourself first and sticking to those boundaries. Because you could easily put a call in and be like, yeah, I'm going to make a sale or whatever else, and this is so important, I got to put my client first. But you're going to give them a much better service if you feel like yourself and you feel energetic. Because I've been on plenty of calls where I have felt pretty shit, and that call's gone shit as a result. So if you feel really, really good, you're going to give a much better service, and you've got to keep that in the back of your mind. But just making it as easy as you possibly can for yourself so that it's much, much harder to fail is the key. And then, again, like if you're going through all of these meetings all day, just making a little bit of time for movement. Like, it doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to be a gym session if you don't want it to be. It could just be a walk around the block. It could just be a stretch on your seat if you need it to. But if you move, you're going to feel a lot better for it. And there's been times where we've like been at the laptop all day and we feel so rubbish for it at the end of the day. You're like, why am I really doing this to myself? Like, is it even worth it? And you don't want to be feeling like that every day. Like, there's no way to live. I know you love your business, but it's not life. Life is outside of the laptop. And the more you can do that, the better your business is actually going to be as a result. Like we always say, we'll have our best ideas going out having fun. Like you'll think of all those things when you're outside, but yet you condemn yourself to like, you need to be doing more, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, you're not allowed rest. But actually, it's going to make you so much better off. And the best thing that I've ever learned in my life, because I hate rest, is that if you're on like a long haul flight, say it's 12 hours, 14 hours, when you land, the plane isn't allowed to fly again for like the equivalent of what it's been flying for, because it needs to be checked, it needs rest. And the same with the cabin crew and the pilot. They're not allowed to go again until they've had proper rest. But yet we expect our body to keep going and going and going and going. So if everyone else in the world has rules and you don't, why are you any different? Like, you're going to be able to be so much better if you rested properly.
Yeah. Do you know, like all of those points, it's like all what I've experienced recently. I tend to find, for everyone's different, so I find my nutrition isn't the thing that tends to slip. I'm quite good at that. I enjoy tracking my foods. I generally don't like junk food. It's not like I'm even tempted. That's not me. It's not like I go on like a week binge or something. The gym in general is not something that I kind of stop doing completely. But like you were saying about the walks and like coming up with your best ideas. I love going out for walks. I know how creative I am. But when I think about the last few months, I've been really burnt out. I've barely done it. Like some days barely left the house. And last weekend, I think it was last weekend, I was like, right, I'm going to go out for a really long walk. I left my phone in the car. I went through the woods for 8K. And I came up with so many ideas for the business. I mean, I did have some video ideas that I couldn't record because I didn't have my phone. But I just was like, I literally even 5 minutes into the walk, like I couldn't wipe the smile off my face. I felt amazing. I got back to the car, and although I'd been exercising, I suppose, I felt so calm and rested. And I just thought, like, why have I let this slip? Because it's so beneficial. Like, why is it always something that just gets pushed away? Like, there's no excuse
I
for it, really.
No, there isn't. But then everyone does that. Like we're all human, and you can't hate yourself for it. I think you just need to incorporate into your lifestyle, but make it easier. So like
Mm,
dedicate more time to just doing nothing, and as a result, you're going to do that. You're going to go do that because you'll want to do it. And like one of my clients taught me this about a year ago, actually, because my idea of rest was sitting down and forcing myself to do what other people perceive as rest, like watching TV. And I'm not that crazy about TV
yeah.
unless I'm something I truly love. And like she was like, maybe rest to you is going on a hike, or doing something a little bit more energetic, or like reading a book that's maybe like self-improvement. And I was like, that's so true. So the things that you might see as rest is rest to you, and like walking, whereas other people would think walking is the worst form of rest in the entire world. So like maybe by you saying I need more rest, maybe you just need less time sitting down watching TV and just going walking instead, because that makes you feel
Mm.
energized but also calm.
Yeah, and I think for anyone watching, particularly if you know you're an agency owner, you're going into an office every day because you've got to be present for your staff and all that stuff. Literally, as of Monday this week, I brought in a new little routine for the morning where I've got up half an hour earlier, and I just go out for a quick walk around the block. It's about 1K. Doesn't take me long at all. And then I've got plenty of time to still get ready, get out of the house if I'm with a client for the day. I mean, you can do it if you're working from home as well, but I know a lot of people watching will be thinking, right, well, I've got to get into the office for this time and I've got to commute. Even just a little, like Shona, you mentioned the walk around the block, it's something I'm trying now, and I feel I'm so much more productive when I start work at 8. I get loads done, I'm with it, more focused. Um, but it's also a form of rest for me in some ways as well. So yeah, I think they're all practical like habits people can put into place now. But I can vouch for the fact that like I'm doing them myself. You know, they're already making a difference to my burnout, and I'm going to keep on top of them because ultimately I do not want to slip into that again because it's not been nice at all. So coming to the next question then. So we both of you kind of alluded to this lack of time, and I know we all, like all three of us, don't have much time really when we kind of break down every day what we've got to do. I know a lot of you watching, even if you're not a business owner in recruitment and you're a billing manager or a consultant in recruitment, we always say there's never enough hours in the day. We could literally do our job 24/7 and still not get everything done. So, you know, if people are watching this and thinking like time's lacking for me, how can they make sure they prioritize their health and get that balance?
Okay. Well, I think it's just, first of all, just understanding that it probably takes less than what you think to stay on top of your physical health and your energy management. I think a lot of people think, oh, I need to train every day. I need to follow this really rigid meal plan. I need to do 10,000 steps every single day. And that can be quite overwhelming if you're working 70 hours a
Mm,
week, you're at meetings, maybe you got work travel on. So I'd say it's just being kinder on yourself really, and just understanding that actually all it takes is really just moving your body a little bit each day. So it could just be like what you've done recently, Kate. You're seriously busy at the moment, but you're making 10, 15, 20 minutes out of your day, aren't you? Just to go around the block and do your walk because you know that
mm,
makes you feel better. So it's about making sure that we create some time for that, albeit it doesn't have to be an hour. It could be 15 to 20 minutes a day. On top of that, then I would recommend that we do try and schedule into our diary, just like you would a work meeting, some dedicated time to exercise as well. And it's just about
yeah.
reminding yourself that it is important. It's just as important as your work meetings, as your business, because this is an enabler to make you feel better, to perform better, and grow your business essentially. So I would say we do need to schedule in time, just like meetings, and then also just look at some other activities which are actually going to save you time, like nutrition, for example. It doesn't have to be that difficult. Like you can put together some simple meals the night before, which you can then have for your dinner and take for your lunch the next day. That's going to save you time. It's also going to reduce decision fatigue, where you have to think about what you're going to have for food the next day. So you can just maybe get on top of a little bit of planning. Think about, what am I going to have for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, today, tomorrow, Wednesday, etc. It's going to make your life a hell of a lot easier. And you can just do a click and collect shop or online delivery, get the ingredients there, make it quick, simple.
That's one good thing about the UK.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't have that here.
Yeah, massively, because now we're having to go to the supermarket. It's wasting loads of time. But you can make it really quick and easy. And then also, well, it's like knowing that some days you're not going to be able to do it all. Like if you have got a mental day, right? I don't know. Take you, for example, last week, maybe like when you're at your expo for 2 days, it's probably not going to be possible to get 2 big training sessions in. But what you can still do, though, is have some minimum standards for those days. It could be like, where am I going to find a few 10-minute blocks to get out and get some fresh air? Where am I going to maybe just have a stretch and move my body? Or thinking about, okay, where am I going to eat my lunch and dinner tonight, and what are going to be the best choices for me?
Yeah,
maybe
that is what I focused on, actually. I took prep meals for my dinner because I was staying in an apartment, and I didn't have to think about cooking. I knew I could just put it in the microwave. It was a nice, healthy meal I'd made at the weekend. Lunch then was easier to grab as a nice sandwich, and then I brought breakfast with me as well. So people laugh at me. I bought like a little protein porridge pot with extra protein, and then I bought a coffee sachet. So I just knew then it didn't matter what I had for lunch, because there's not much choice at the NEC. Bear that in mind, because we've got High Rocks next weekend. There's Weatherspoons, right? So I just thought, well, I'll eat as best as I can at lunch, but I know my breakfast and dinner is good, and snacks were good.
Yeah, and what did that do? That enabled you to have more energy so that you could then perform at your best when you were doing your talks. Right?
It was less stress. I wasn't thinking like, oh God, what am I going to have for dinner? And it was just so much easier.
Yeah. So for anyone listening, if you're traveling with work, you want to be looking at the same, thinking ahead of time. Where am I traveling? What are my options? What could I have for breakfast, lunch, dinner, which is going to help my energy, going to help me stay healthy? Where maybe can I find a few 15-minute blocks in my diary just to move my body? Or if I've got time in the evening, is there a local gym maybe I could get a pass to? Right? And it's just about having like minimum effective standards when things are really on top. They allow you just to tick the boxes and stay consistent then with your physical health.
Yeah.
And also, when the calendar, if it ever does clear up, you'll then just be in a really good place to push on then. Maybe you can do a few more sessions. Maybe you can build on what you've done. So yes, it all really just comes down to planning ahead, doesn't it? It's knowing exactly where you are across the week, what meetings you've got in place, where the available time slots are, which are non-negotiable and won't actually get knocked out, and then just sticking to it, keeping it simple.
And I think, especially going back to the agency owners here, particularly when you're like office based, you've got your staff, like look at your week ahead and think, right, these are the days where I'm going to need a quick, because this is similar to what I do, and I'm not even in an office with staff most days. I'll look ahead and think, right, what are the days where I'm going to need a very quick lunch, like something easy? What are the days where actually cooking like scrambled egg on toast for my lunch is actually giving me a break from it forces me to get away from my laptop, go in the kitchen and cook something. And like, what are my really early mornings where I can maybe make overnight oats, so in the morning I can grab and go? Or what are the nights where I might be working later and maybe I could just take something out the freezer that I cooked at the weekends? Like, I think that prep, it doesn't need to be like you got to cook all your meals on a Sunday and have all these plastic cartons of prep meals. It's just a bit of both, isn't it? Some nights you might cook, some nights you might not. But I think I can't tell you how many recruitment offices I go into in the morning and I see cans of Monster everywhere. Like vapes. Everyone's vaping. No one's really eating properly throughout the day, or if they are eating, it's not very good food, and it massively fuels your performance, doesn't it? And in terms of preventing burnout, is a massive contributor.
Yeah, and I always think if you look at maybe 2 of the richest men in the world right now, so Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, in great shape, both of them. And why do you think that is? Is it down to vanity? No, it's not. It's because they value their health, and they know that being at their best physically is going to enable them to run massive multi-billion pound companies, right? It's no coincidence, is it, that these guys are focusing on their health and their physical well, not just their appearance, but their performance as well. And I would argue they're probably a little bit busier than the average person.
Yeah, just a bit. Just a little bit. What I'm going to do, I am going to come back to you for a top tip, which is a really good one. But I just want to do a quick roundup of what the next show is going to be about and when it's going to be. So I always have to look down for this because I forget the date. So it's the 30th of November, the next show. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yeah. 30th of November, 12:30, normal time. Next one will be back to being live again. I've got Christina Robinson on with me from Green Umbrella. She's been on before. We did everything about personal branding. This time, I'm really excited for this subject because I've got a lot to learn about this. We're going to be talking about how you can use social media to get more candidates. And I know a lot of good consultants at the moment that have tapped into things like TikTok. So I think for a lot of people watching, we can tap into this more and boost up our talent pools, because I know a lot of people are struggling for candidates at the moment. So that will be, just as a reminder, 30th of October, 12:30. Keep an eye out for the event, and that will be live. Okay, so I'm coming back to you for this top tip. I like this one because I can really relate to this. Create a plan that suits you now. What do you mean by this?
So I always think, well, I always see it with everyone. I think especially because we attract people who are quite driven in other areas of their life. They have such high standards where they're like big achievers. They can go and do massive things. They're in this all or nothing mindset, which does suit them and serve them in terms of business, yes. But I think in terms of fitness, where you are right now, or in terms of whatever else you want to achieve, then that's not always going to serve you, because that expectation is very, very far from where you are right now. So creating a plan that suits you to where you are currently is so important to move you forward. Like, we could say, yeah, we're going to train 7 days a week. That's never going to work for us. Like, it's not realistic. We want to prioritize our relationship, our life, home life, work. You'd never be able to balance that with working out 7 days a week. And it's the same for you guys. If you don't currently do anything right now, you just work all the time, just reducing that by 10 minutes a day is going to do the world of good. So creating a plan that actually suits you will allow you to stick to it, because it's going to be realistic for your current lifestyle. And then that will enable you to become happier, because you're not going to feel like a failure anymore. But also, I think, like, as I was talking to you guys, well, as I was listening to you guys talk, obviously Phil's your coach, I'm like, everyone needs that in their life. Like, Phil has told you to basically stop, because he can see that what you're doing is like going to burn you out. And it's the same with me and my coach as well. Like, I was so close to burnout. Like, I chatted with you about it over Instagram or text or whatever, and I was so close. And my coach also told me, like, stop now. You've pushed hard enough. Just enjoy where you are. Like, no one's going to die if you don't push tomorrow. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
So I think for me, like, listening to you guys chat, is that having someone to have your back is so important, because more often than not, you can't see when you're about to burn out. It just happens when it happens, and you feel it. And to prevent you from going through that journey of healing, because it does take forever to get back to your normal baseline of energy, just having someone there to see that you're about to burn out is so important.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, Phil, you probably spotted it before I went to Ibiza, but I wasn't cancelling that holiday, so that was a recipe for disaster.
In an ideal world, coach would say, don't go to Ibiza for 5 days and whatever else comes with that. But that was never going to be listened to, really, was it?
Yeah, lesson maybe learned a little bit, but I think what I think I've realised recently as well, and it relates to this, is when it suits you now means, like, you can change. So I'm different now, right? That could be age, how my personal life changed, how my business transition, whatever, right? I'm not the same as I was earlier this year. I'm not able to push myself in certain ways the same as I could. I've transitioned and I've changed, and that's okay, but you've got to adjust your life to accommodate that. So it meant that you know, the 4 or 5 sessions a week that I was doing maybe this time last year and all the business stuff going on actually affects me more now. My energy is different. You know, stress is affected differently. So you've got to adapt and change. I think particularly as a woman, and Shona, you can probably relate to this, we've got different cycles to men. So,
Yeah,
you know, you've got to
same
adjust.
Yeah. And like also to just push and pull all of the time, you're always going to be in this, I don't know what it even is, but you're always going to be pushing something and pulling back on another thing, and you have to be okay with that. You can't constantly push all areas of your life at the same time. Like when we moved country, we did a launch, we combined businesses, and we had so much stress going on all at the same time. Like I look back and I'm like, no wonder why I felt so fucking tired. Like that's a lot to do all at once. And then I just continued pushing. I was like, no, I need to keep going. I need to keep going. Like we both had such big months. And I was like, I need to keep going. But actually, I really needed to stop. And I think allowing yourself to stop is the hardest thing possible. But when you do it, you feel so much better.
Yeah, 100%. Well, look, we've come to the end. We've hit half an hour. We're just over half an hour, actually. So that went really quickly. To everybody watching, if you have any questions, if you want to learn more about Perform 24, what Shona and Phil do, in particular, if you're like watching this business owner, intense career, you know, want that balance, but also want to get into shape. And maybe you do want to do things like we all do high rocks. It could be marathon running, whatever you want to do. I would strongly suggest you reach out to them because I've been working. Phil, how long? I'm one of your OG clients. Is it like 4 years now?
My OG clients, 4 years now.
Yeah, 4 years.
Multiple half marathons, high rocks, stayed in great shape, taking on 2 businesses.
So if you can relate and you want that go-to person for support and guidance and to hold you accountable as well to rest, but also, you know, get on board with stuff. Phil and Shona are both on Instagram. So Phil, your handle is at Casely_performance, isn't it?
Yep.
Shona at Shona_perform24.
Yes.
Yeah. I will add it when this goes live. I will add it into the event comments so you can connect with them. I'll also put in the link for when Phil came on earlier in the year because I can't for the life of me remember what the chat was about now. Physical and mental fitness. So that's a good one to watch as well. So watch that again. But yeah, reach out to them. Thank you so much to everyone for watching. Any questions that you've put in, we will come back to them, or I will come back to them later. And join me again on the 30th for how to use social media to get candidates. And that'll be at 12:30. Phil and Shona, I forgot to tell you before we went live, stay on and we'll catch up after. But see everybody soon.
Bye. Thank you for having us.
See you later, guys.